Hello and welcome. My name is Lachlan Evenson. You are at the Public Kubernetes Steering Committee meeting, which happens once a month, twice a month, every other week. Today is July 6th, Monday, July 6th, 2020. All conversations fall under the Kubernetes Code of Conduct, so please be respectful to each other in all your conversations. And this meeting will be recorded and posted to YouTube, so please keep that in mind. If this is your first time, welcome. You're in a great place. You're about to hear we have a full agenda today. I've added the lazy link to the chat. And let me just check if there's anything else I need to go over before we get into it. Excellent. I think that is it. Feel free to interrupt me for second time bosoning today. Okay, so we have a packed agenda. So I'm going to be running a tight ship today so that we can get through everything on there. So if there are longer conversations and we need to sidebar them into Slack or other mechanisms, I will be calling conversations short so that we can get through everything here. If you have anything you would like to add, feel free. If you're showing up to this meeting to bring something to our attention, feel free to add it to the agenda and we will try and get through it. Okay, so on the order of things, we have Christoph here. Christoph has the first agenda item. Election officers for 2020 have been nominated. There is a link to a comment here. Call vote to ratify these. So I'll pass it to Christoph and let's push through.
Good morning, everyone. So in a previous steering committee meeting, we were talking about talking to contributor experience and getting officers for our current election cycle. We're also talking about how to kind of modify this, as far as future election cycles, but we're going to implement our current policy for this fall's election cycle. Contribex has reached consensus and they are suggesting Josh Burkus, Ihor, and Jace Dumars as the election officers for this upcoming fall election. I'm wondering if there's any comments or thoughts, or if we should call a vote to ratify those three officers.
No concerns, ready to vote.
+1 for me.
+1 for me.
One for me.
Same, I dropped it in the issue.
Okay, please +1 on steering members. I see Aaron Dims. +1 from me. Okay, anything else we need there, Christoph?
Nope, if we have, it looks like everyone here is good with that. So we'll proceed with ratifying those, and those three folks will be our election officers for this fall.
Excellent.
So they can kick off the process.
Thank you, election officers.
Thank you, election officers. Yes, absolutely. And thanks for all the work, George, for putting that together and everybody that worked on coming up with those names. Ihor's on the call. Congratulations, Ihor. And looks like Jace and Josh. Excellent. Okay, moving on. I had placed an agenda item here late on Friday. Organized Code of Conduct Committee elections for seats ending on August 7th, 2020. There are 3 seats up. There's a couple of links there. I think Paris has created a link to an issue 169. Is there any, what are the actions out of that, Paris? I will take a look at that now.
It's pretty much nothing. It's like a placeholder for us. The only action that I've drawn so far is discussing how we nominate. I think folks have some concern. I don't know if we want to call them concerns, but I think folks had some discussion points that they wanted to raise around how we nominate. So I thought that was kind of a priority level.
Can we get an idea of how, sorry.
No, go ahead, Nikita.
Can we get an idea of how it worked previously? I think I have some idea, but I don't know like the process worked end to end?
Aaron or Dims, y'all want to give us some history?
The way it has worked previously is that at this time we would ask the chairs and tech leads of our various community groups to nominate somebody. So basically leads at kubernetes.io. And then sort of confirm that those people are interested, get a similar sort of description of who they are, what's their experience, why are they interested in doing this. And then we would use civs to hold the election, and steering committee members would be the people voting. So it's a mostly open nomination. The requirements are, there aren't really any requirements, or they're very, very loose. Like literally anybody can be nominated to this committee, even if they're not technically part of this community. We're actually we have been fans of that in the past so that we get some perspective from outside of this community and people who don't necessarily live in this echo chamber. Yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think the other thing I was curious about was where the nominations went, but I think it went to steering private, if I remember correctly.
I do not remember where the nominations went.
Yeah, I think it was steering private.
And there was one of, I think Michelle created a form, right? I remember filling out a nomination form. Can't remember.
I have stopped taking notes so I can try and Google around to find this, because I feel like we had all of this written down somewhere.
It's not in the documentation link in the notes, but
Okay.
maybe I'm missing something.
I would like to propose, would somebody like to take this and push it through? I think is that what we need to get done? The time is tight. We have just over a month. We need to collect nominations and put it out to vote by the time those seats are up. So
just speaking for myself, as far as like the nomination process and who can nominate somebody to COC, ultimately, like I don't mind if we chose to open up that pool wider from the perspective of ultimately the, as has been talked about with steering committee elections themselves, you could put constraints on the electors, or you could put constraints on the nomination process. In this case, the constraint is already on the electors, where there's only 7 votes. It's only going to be the 7 steering committee members in there. So if somebody was nominated for COC that may not be a good candidate for our code of conduct committee, ultimately the 7 steering committee members would be able to decide that and select somebody else when they go to vote. So I don't really have any concerns around opening that up wider, or that there needs to be constraints on who actually submits the nomination or getting specific people to submit the nominations. So if we wanted to open up that process to be if you are a member of our community, if you're at that kind of member level, submit a nomination. And then, as long as the person who's being nominated accepts that nomination and would like to stand, then when steering votes, steering can vote.
okay, okay.
I'm sorry.
+1 to that.
I think, would it be okay for us to call the Code of Conduct Committee to our next private meeting in 2 weeks and talk to them about how, because I think they might have some ideas for nomination process and how that can be reshaped? Would that make sense to call them to talk about it?
The concern from my side with doing that is just timelines. Because if we put on hold the nomination process as it is to consult with COC, then we're like 2 weeks into like a month-long process already of accepting nominations. If we wanted to go that route and talk to COC, then maybe we just go with the regulations and stuff, the process that we have now, and try and reform it for next time. Or yeah, that would be my only concern is timelines, Paris. I don't mind engaging them and talking to COC if they do have thoughts. I just don't know if 2 weeks from now in our private meeting is like fast enough.
Should
You
we
think
do a one-off meeting?
Okay, I was going to say the same thing.
Well, what were you going to say? Sorry, I didn't hear Nikita.
She said, "Can we do a one-off meeting?" Maybe. I'm wondering whether just a subgroup of steering can go out and execute on this and bring back the results, given that it's a tight timeline in front of everyone. That would be my proposal. Can we get like 2 people from steering to say, we're going to own this and push it through, and go out and talk to Code of Conduct and report back, given that it's a tight timeline. I think that's the fastest way to get this turned around, but we can all meet too, but it just means scheduling is a little harder.
I'm up for it. I'll do it. I'll take, if somebody else wants to help me.
I'll do it with you.
Okay.
So we'll pick up that issue. We'll figure out how to consult with Code of Conduct, bring it all back to the group and proceed. Because I think, yeah, sorry, Paris.
I'll just say a quick question. Is there anybody on the line that's in disagreement or has a concern with us opening up the nominations to everyone? Okay, well, I just want to see what page we were on so that we can act quickly. So what needs to happen there is Lachie and I can either do a PR to correct that piece of the election policy, and then we can talk to Code of Conduct about nomination and selection and what their thoughts are there, since I know they have some.
And just to confirm, like nobody's suggesting that we change the eligibility for voting piece. So like the voting piece is still going to be just the 7 steering committee members.
Yep.
And is no criteria, it's everyone, blanket everyone, not Kubernetes membership.
That's how it's always has been. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yep.
Unless we wanted to discuss that too. Okay.
I'm okay with everyone.
Okay.
Okay, so action here is Paris and I are going to pick this up and bring it back to the group and champion it until August 7th deadline. Everybody okay with that? I see nods, but I'm not in gallery view, so I don't see all nods.
Yes.
Going to gallery. Yes. Okay, excellent. Moving on to the next one. Thanks, Dims. I switched to gallery. Rookie move on my part. Nikita has requests for G Suite groups from George and Bob. Did you want to run with this, Nikita?
Sure. So the major work has been done by George and Bob. I'm just relaying information from them. So I want to be clear that the credit needs to go to them. They couldn't make it because they're busy. So there are 2 requests. One, an issue has been already created for calendar at kubernetes.io. The idea is that this account will join all mailing lists, all SIG mailing lists, and it will be set to auto accept invites. So when you look at the calendar from calendar at kubernetes.io, it will contain the list of all community events. The problem that the solution that we use right now is this random string that you need to, random account of string, I don't know what that is, that you need to invite to all mailing lists, all invites right now. But then anyone can do that, anywhere in the internet. So we have something related to Android or some weird things in our community calendar. So we wanted to make sure that it's tightly scoped. The idea is that this would be owned by the Contribex leads for now. We really wouldn't have to care too much about what goes on there because it's all automated. It will auto accept invites. And we cannot use contributors at Kubernetes.io. That's the one that we use for lots of things right now because that has elevated access to a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to go with the other one too, and then we can talk about both of them. So the other one was SIG foo leads at Kubernetes.io. In the past, we've tried not to create too many G Suite accounts for like a bunch of people, like very few people or like specific people. But something that we've noticed or something they've noticed is for SIG, for docs, apps, and release, a bunch of these leads mailing lists have gotten stale and their owner is Sarah Novotny at google.com, which means we cannot access those lists again. So the idea that they were thinking is to have a G Suite account for each leads group so that like if the leads change, then they can just create a PR to add them in. Something related to this, I created a PR in the kh.io repo recently to split groups.yaml according, well, however we wanted to. So there is like we can automate it to not end up as a huge bottleneck. Yeah, so what do folks think about this?
I sort of agree with what Dims is saying, the meta point that I feel like steering doesn't actually need to weigh in on this. I think the question of billing and account usage and stuff probably falls to WG Kate's infra, and I would say contributor experience is the stakeholder SIG in charge of this. Yeah, both of these sound great and awesome. Automation to enforce the policy that we have in place is always a good thing and reduces human toil.
Cool, I see +1s in the chat, so I'll take it back to them to create a PR to get things rolling.
Yeah, and next time they don't have to come to us.
Yeah, I'll let them know that too.
I do have a question about that, just from the perspective of like, at the moment, our G Suite administration is done through steering. So technically, as it's documented, that this is the right way to go, is to come to steering to ask for those things to be approved. I don't mind if we want to delegate it out to contributor experience or working group case infra, whichever one makes more sense there. But right now, like, again, we have like to actually do the calendar action, which is the calendar isn't actually a group, it needs to be a new principal account. So if it's a principal account, it actually needs to be created by one of the 3 SC accounts anyways, which are held by steering. So yeah, there's just a process piece here where this particular technology is locked in with steering as opposed to the rest of our stuff.
Yeah, I'm happy to delegate it for us to delegate it to Contribex, and the people with the keys are the Kate's working group infra for most of the things. If they need us to step in with our SC1, SC2, SC3, then they'll ask us.
So is that a change of policy that needs to be documented somewhere?
It's undocumented at this point.
Undocumented.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we document it?
Yeah,
Probably. Yeah.
Who would like to take a point on that?
Which actions specifically we're delegating and to who?
Yeah, I can take that up.
Okay. Thank you, Nikita. Anything else we need to discuss on this specific point, Nikita?
Nope.
Excellent. Okay, next one. Please review K Community 4874. It's regarding updates policy for community groups, update from quarterly to once a year, which matches current reality.
Yeah, Paris created that PR. I think a bunch of folks from the steering committee have already reviewed it, but I just wanted to add it here so that there's like whoever has not taken a look at it, please add LGTM.
Okay, call for LGTMs.
I do have a small update here too, if that's okay. Basan, can I take like a minute?
Yes, you may.
George and I actually got off the phone before this meeting because we were what I'm trying to do here is rework 2021 schedule into something that makes sense for the group, plus also taking in addition to the fact that people are going to have to do annual reports now as well, which I technically consider like a community meeting and a half. So like an additional half's worth of work there. I do have something that I wanted to show y'all. Hold on 1 second. Oh my gosh, I have like 40 million tabs open. I might pump myself till the end here. But anyway, what the deal is, it would be January. We would kick off the year with steering, code of conduct, and SIG architecture, having community meeting updates, and then February and March doing just working group updates, since February and March is going to be the large amount of work for annual reports. And then we kick into a regular schedule like we do now from I think it's April until November. And then we also cycle in KDEV updates as well. So what this means is community groups will have one slot during the community meeting update, one KDEV update, and these would be at different halves of the year, and then also the addition of the annual report. So governance is going to read that you pretty much have 3 updates a year for your community group. I can show all of this in writing as soon as I reduce the tab toil that I have from 1 million to 1. So, but later on in the meeting, if we have some time at the end, I can show you. But that's kind of the context and the update where we're going for this. So I don't know if that sounds sane or reasonable. But I feel like it might be better for more chairs and also the annual report process as well. But that's it.
Does this dovetail into the time to kick off annual reports? Does it make sense to talk about that now, and then we'll come back to the SC liaison for W working group naming?
Let's do it.
Okay, so time to kick off annual reports, Nikita.
Well, that was just a question. I mean, we had set up the time to kick off the annual reports as July 1st. It's July 6th, so I guess we should do it, but Paris had a bunch of things to talk about, so I'll let her talk. So
we have to review the KDEV email. Divya has been assigned. I'm not sure if everybody on the call knows Divya. Divya is a contributor of ours. Divya has been assigned to help with the blog as well. The blog, I've told her to not worry about the blog. The KDEV email goes first. And then now that we've assigned all of our steering liaisons, want to make sure from everybody that they're good to go there. And that's really it. So also the PR, there's a PR in the notes that needs to get approved about the process. And oh no, I just got my PR rejected. No. I was doing my homework while on the phone with y'all. I was doing an update to that PR. Anyway, yeah, so the PR in there needs to get approved. That's for the process, and then we're good to go. So KDEV email and the PR approved, and then we're ready.
Okay, and that PR is 4902, and there is another PR 4874. Which I think is the same one that Nikita was talking about, that updates the policy from quarterly to once a year. Okay, so that
one below that one as well. That's the working group process one.
So which is 4874 the one that mentions sort of the 3 different updates that you were talking about, Paris?
Yep. And then 4902 is the actual steps for working groups for this year.
Okay, any questions regarding this? Otherwise, we can take the reviews offline.
I don't know. I'll just register that it feels like moving from doing the same activity at a certain cadence feels like slightly less work than doing 3 different kinds of activities across the year. Like I feel like this is asking kind of more of folks than before, but I'm also open to experimenting with this and trying this out and seeing what the feedback from the community is. But like the way I'm probably going to do it is that use the same slides I would speak to during a community meeting, and I'll just send those out to KDEP.
That's exactly what you would do. That's the expectation.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be your expectation, except now you don't have to show up to the community meeting and do the vocal too. It's just the written.
Anything else you'd like to discuss here, Paris?
No, I'm putting in that we're kicking off the steering committee liaisons need to kick off the first week of July with their working groups. I'm not listing a specific date. I just said first week of July, which that's this week. Is there any objections with us kicking off this week? I hope to have the KDEV email out by 5 p.m. PDT today. That would be my goal there.
I guess the only thing we'll need to do is assign a steering committee liaison for working group naming, which is the next action, which is the next item on the agenda. So
yeah, rolling.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about it. Yeah, so I've created a PR to add PR in the liaisons for steering in the steering repo, which doesn't have working group naming because it's the new working group. So right now there are 35 groups, which means we have evenly divided all the community groups. So the question is who liaisons for working group naming from the steering committee? Do we do it at random? Does someone want to take it up?
I think I have the least, I think. So I can take it if I have the least. I have no problems with that. Let me look.
I think everyone has equal
Okay.
groups right now.
Right now, yeah, I think everybody has 5.
Okay. Well, never mind. I'm not volunteering. Well, never mind.
Well, and if we're talking about annual reports as well, like just in the short term, looking at working groups, like who has work, because when we assigned liaisons, we just went like all community groups assign liaison. If we're looking at just working groups, I think Paris and myself have 2 working groups. Aaron, Dims, and Nikita have 1. Oh, and Derek has 1. Lockie has 2.
I can take it, unless anybody else is jumping for it.
All yours.
Going once, going twice. Sold to Aaron.
Right.
This is how we delegate work, via auction.
Okay, I'm just going to add to that PR. Okay, added as a comment to that PR too. Excellent. Thank you, Nikita, and thank you, Aaron. Okay, catching up where we're actually at. Okay, Nikita, route the Kubernetes starter kit for OpenStack email to SIGArch for review.
Yeah, so we received an email a few weeks, I don't remember when it was, a few weeks ago, from the OpenStack, I need to get the email, OpenStack Technical Committee chair, regarding that they have a proposal to define a set of services which they're calling a starter kit for using Kubernetes inside OpenStack, and they wanted feedback from the Kubernetes community, and they wanted to present their proposal in one of our meetings. Steering committee isn't the committee which takes or reviews technical decisions. I was wondering if it makes sense to send to SIGArch, but I also don't know if SIGArch reviews proposals not from the Kubernetes project itself. So what do y'all think?
So +1 to reroute it to SIGArch, but it might make sense for us to just talk to them at some point, just to get to know the people there. But that's on a side note. We don't have to do it right now. Let's deal with the issue at hand and get them to come to the SIGArch meeting wearing my SIGArch hat. I don't know exactly what they're asking us to do there. So we would have to figure out what they're asking us to do, because this is completely a process on their end. They're probably just trying to consult with us, saying, are these pieces enough for us to run a Kubernetes? But then the question I had asked them was, have they already talked to the people who are doing the cloud provider for OpenStack and cluster API provider for OpenStack? Because those people have the most information because they span both communities. So that is probably what I'll reinforce when they come to the SIGArch meeting. But then +1 to redirect them to go there. And I'm happy to do all the things that I just mentioned.
Be a good idea to CC those other two mailing lists, cloud provider and cluster lifecycle, just to get the conversation going over email. So maybe SIGArch doesn't meet for a little while.
Yeah. If that sounds okay, then I'll run with this.
Okay, anything else to add for this topic? Okay, Nikita, FYI, the CNCF TOC has a new proposal for steering committee charters for CNCF projects. Take it away, Nikita.
Yeah, that's kind of it. It was just an FYI. There's an email thread linked to that agenda item, and there's a proposal linked as well. There's some concerning aspects over there, which Christoph's already commented on, and I agree with him. But if anyone else has further things that they'd like to comment on, I'd really recommend taking a look at that. That's it for me. Paris, you had something and
Paris, go first.
I just wanted to make a general ask to steering committee that we do like a routine CNCF 5-minute at least update every meeting we have, because I feel like a lot of the stuff that I do and we do collectively gets lost, and I think it would be good for us to bubble up CNCF stuff. So I wanted to see what the group thought about to locking a section every meeting to just CNCF discussion. So mine was meta, because I think conversations like these are important and they're getting kind of like lost in the shuffle. There's like so much more to this conversation, just based on what's going on with the TOC and contributor strategy. So that's that. Again, that was my meta.
Go ahead, you
none
muted,
beans
Aaron.
and +1 from me. I'm sorry, like
No worries.
I was just going to suggest, given that you are chair of contributor strategy over there and you tend to be involved with a lot of that, would you be willing to give us an update every steering meeting?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to. For sure. There's just so much going on, y'all. That's why it's like it's moving at the pace, like just an incredible pace right now. So I just want to make sure that like as sandbox incubation and graduation requirements start to really firm up, that we are just kind of like in the know and understand what's going on. And the other thing is they're not necessarily trying to change graduated projects with this. So a lot of people saw this as like, oh my gosh, they're trying to change Kubernetes steering. And it wasn't really about graduated. It's really about everybody else coming up through that. Now I'm gonna shut my Zoom off because of Lance.
Leaf blowers for the win.
So the doc that I saw was from Alexis. It didn't feel as though it came from the CNCF TOC itself. And it seems to be like a collaboration thinking from Alexis that he started. That's the impression that I got. And it's definitely, like Paris said, it is.
See, that's your version of leaf blower. Okay.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like, you know, they are brainstorming some of the incoming for sure. And the other thing was like, how much do we need to pay attention to stuff, what is happening at the CNCF level, right? I'm not too sure about that. So.
I think from myself, I'd say it's good for us to have an ear to the ground of what's going on in CNCF, because, you know, there's both, like, there's a two-way street there where stuff that's coming from the CNCF we could find helpful and we could choose to adopt some of their programs and gain more value from our relationship with the CNCF if there's things that we would find useful. As well as Kubernetes as the first graduated project, the original project of the CNCF. There's a lot of knowledge that we have in the way that we do things that we can end up contributing back. And there's a lot of folks involved in, you know, SIG contributor strategy at the CNCF level to do just that and to try and help other projects be able to manage their communities in the way that Kubernetes has done, and learn from both things that we've done that have been successful and things that we've done that have been less than successful. So I think both ways there's opportunities for us if we keep our ear to the ground. So I think there's definitely value, and I would agree that it seems like the pace of things with the CNCF, like, I don't know if it's just the CNCF is kind of hitting a stride now, but the pace of things is definitely picking up to the point where I know I'm having problems kind of keeping track of everything that's going on because I'm not directly involved in a lot of the CNCF level stuff. So having that update here, I think, would be like beneficial for us at a base level, in my view.
Right. Well, one issue I have right now is, like, we haven't heard anything about some of the things that we were looped in, or at least triggered on. So it's like we are getting information about things that don't really matter, but there are other things that really matter, and we are not seeing any updates there. So
I think this is the communication problem that I talk about a lot between CNCF and us. And that's why I feel like we need to have dedicated time to open those doors on our side as well. So that's just my thing. I just now that I am very active and engaged in the CNCF community, I have definitely 100% seen that there is a block of communication between our projects. And I genuinely don't think that that was any negative thing. I think it's just we're so huge and all of us are so damn busy that we cannot see kind of outside of the bubble, and outside of the bubble is what's growing so much, right? So I feel, and this is why I bring up too, like all the things about like who we list as maintainers and TOC elections, because that stuff gets people involved in CNCF, and it gets people involved in these other projects. And we as steering, I feel like don't necessarily do a good job of informing our community about like the happenings and the comings and goings of like what's going on around us. So I feel like adding this dedicated time to this meeting to talk about the CNCF, whether it's good things, bad things, or indifferent things, will help us kind of engage our community with that.
I agree. And I also think like, I think it's also just a natural evolution of the steering committee where, you know, previously, like prior to the last election that we had a steering committee member that was also the TOC liaison for Kubernetes. So that person offered that kind of bridge naturally, being, okay, I hold a seat here and I hold a seat here. So I'm showing up to both meetings anyways all the time. So that information was naturally communicated more than it is now. So having more purposeful communication now, I think would be beneficial.
So does it mean that we should request Michelle to come here now and then to help us with that too? Because she is officially our liaison there.
I mean, I feel like whoever is technically our liaison should probably be in like some of our meetings.
Right. So from our side, we went and initiated contact with Priyanka, and we got that conversation started, right? From the TOC side, there is supposed to be a person. So let's see if we can get that conversation going through our liaison, right? So that would be Michelle. And the GB, we have Lucky. And do we have anybody else who represents us on GB side? And we have Ihor, of course. So Ihor definitely helps a lot of things that is happening in the Kate's infra. I'm trying to list down all the things that we should do or we are doing.
Whether or not we get Michelle in here, which like I'm supportive of, like encouraging Michelle to attend more of our meetings more often, so that we have that bridge. But whether it's Michelle or Paris or whoever giving that update, I think Paris's original suggestion of let's put aside, you know, some time, at least like an agenda item that's standing to be like, hey, is there anything from the CNCF that we need to pay attention to? Yes, no, move ahead. I think just asking the question in our meetings is still beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. It's just that we usually have packed agenda, and if we put a slot for it and there is nothing specific to talk about, we might talk about some random stuff. If there needs to be an agenda item, then we set an agenda item when we talk about it, right? So there's a difference between the two. Like, for example, in the SIG-Arch call, sometimes we just talk about one thing for 1 full hour, right? So we don't have a problem filling up time, but then it should be productive as well.
So if we draw this conversation to actions right now, it sounds like this is my summarization. Paris is going to be responsible at this point for having a place to give updates about the happenings in CNCF, and that's basically due to her role as the liaison to that group. Okay, so if Paraf wants to invite, you know, Ihor's here, Michelle, anybody else that she needs to pull in, she'll do that. And then we'll just carve out a time. And if there's nothing in that agenda, we just don't talk about it. So there has to be named agenda items that we will discuss, but we'll give it a 5-10 minute slot. Does that sound good? Cool. Looks like plus ones.
Taker says yes.
I can go and update the boson policy. So there's a scaffold for it, just a PR with a one point line. Is that good?
Oh.
One line PRs are my specialty. I'll try and break it into 9 commits and 8 rebases. Okay, are we good with this one? Thanks for. Okay, so Nikita, follow up from previous meeting. What do we think about unconscious bias training for SIG chairs / leads?
Yeah, so this is something we talked about in the last meeting, but we didn't come to a conclusion. So wanted to follow up on that. So the thing that we discussed was about asking SIG chairs and TLs and working group chairs and TLs to take the Linux Foundation Unconscious Bias training, which is free and takes about 30 minutes. The idea was that we'd make it mandatory for new chairs and TLs to take this course within 30 days of their appointment and give the existing leads till the end of the year. The open questions that we had was, should we shorten this timeline because folks would probably wait till the deadline to do it anyways, and the end of year might seem too far away. And had asked if we can be more creative in rolling this out. I don't have solutions on how to make it creative right now, but I just wanted to open up what everyone thought about it.
I'm fine with withdrawing my call for being more creative and just mandate, you know, and see what comes out of it. And the thing is, we definitely don't have a stick. We don't have carrots either, but it's almost like we are requesting them to do it.
At the very least, like, I'm supportive if we can come up with more ideas to be creative. I don't have any right now either. But at the very least, I'd say at the very least, this is a step in the right direction. And like, as we noted last time, like, asking 30 minutes of anybody who's in that kind of leadership role, especially with the benefit of, like, you know, maybe somebody has like slightly better language when they're addressing a group of people, like anything like that. If there's even the slightest chance that it's going to make a slim bit of benefit, it's worth it as far as the potential benefit to making people feel welcome and safe in our community. So 30 minutes, it's not a long length to ask. I would still suggest shorter than end of year, because if we say end of year, literally nobody's going to do it until December, and then it's going to be Christmas time, and everybody's going to be like, I'm on PTO. So I suggest, like, do we want to just say, like, you know, 45 days, 90 days, something like that, and just say, like, it's mandatory, do it. It takes 30 minutes. It's for our community. Please do it, and then sign off here that you've done it.
Your SIG cannot land enhancements for 120 unless your SIG's leads have taken the mandatory training.
Where have you been? Like, that sounds great. Like, where have you been?
All we need to do is tell Jordan, right? Not to approve their PRs.
We could. The hat's tying it to a stick.
Is the goal here to have every lead to be trained in an amount of time?
Well, I think everybody in the community should do this. It's only 30 minutes. And I know there's a lot of things that we go, oh, it's only 30 minutes, and add it to the pile for our leads. But I think this one in particular is important, and may be helpful. So like, yeah, I'd say my gut says 45 days is fine. I'm okay with extending that to 90, but the thing is, if it's 90, it just means it's going to be 3 months before they do it, as opposed to 45 days. I think 45 days is generous enough that if we say, like, you know, we put it out next week and say, hey, by the end of August, go get this done, and then sign off here that you've done it. And if you haven't, we're going to chase you down. We have liaisons now to go and chase everybody down and be like, take your training, please. It's 30 minutes.
Well, the only creative idea I can think of there is like tie it to some date, like release date for 119 or KubeCon NA or something. Pick something like that where it's easy to talk about and do it by this time.
I think 1.19 is August 25th.
That would be my suggestion.
The only concern that I have about that is then that might have impact on people who's like, oh, it's crunch time to get things done before 119 is released. Oh, and I also have to take the 30-minute training on the side.
That's why we
So KubeCon.
a lot of time to do it.
Why
You
don't
have 2
we?
weeks, everyone. Go and take the training.
What about offering up a badge you can add to your README for your repo to say that leadership has completed unconscious bias training, and then a SIG and all working groups can add a badge saying that at least their leadership has been trained in this baseline, like the other badges you have on your wall of your brag wall on your README, because then you could say that it's just a commitment you're making to say that, look, at least the leadership of this piece of the community is trained. That could be a carrot, more of a carrot way, saying that you are eligible to add this badge. We could just have somebody design a badge and hand it out. I don't know.
Okay, I came up with another idea. Sorry, Nikita, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Debs.
Oh, so how about a Kubernetes cloth face mask?
We will send you a face. Yeah, exactly. Can be that simple.
Yeah, let's do that. You know.
I'm okay with that. I get this initial gut reaction of like, we shouldn't need a carrot for you to make our community safe, but also it's a face mask. So like, actually, when I think about that, I'm kind of okay with, here's a little tiny carrot. Please go do the training.
Okay, to kind of wrap a bow on this, what are the actions? Who's taking them, so that we can make sure that Nikita gets this off the list of things we need to monitor? It's not on the public meeting agenda in a month.
I have concerns around like shipping swags for like unconscious bias training, because I think that's something that people should take, and not because they're getting the swag. And yeah, that's kind of what I think. And if we are like giving off face masks, which are so cool, other like other folks other than SIG leads should also get a chance to get it, because everyone would love them. Yeah, it's kind of what I had. But as far as, yeah, I don't know, go ahead, sorry.
When are the next chair and tech leads meetings?
Week,
This week?
I think. Hold on. I lied. It is next week. It's the 14th and the 16th.
So I feel like
I have one on my calendar for the 9th.
Oh yeah, because
I don't know if that's correct.
Yeah, that's it. Because it's always the second Tuesday and Thursday. So the first one is this Thursday, and then the next one is Tuesday, the 14th.
I was just suggesting that could be a useful checkpoint in place to suggest that people take this.
Yeah.
So
Just a side note that it coincides with our meeting with Priyanka. at least 30 minutes of that meeting.
Minute and a half left.
As far as rolling this out in policy, do we just want to like send an email to KDev or the new leads email, the new leads list, because that's who it's like focused on. Hey, leads list, here's a new thing. It's mandatory. Please do this by 45 days from this date, which put in the email. And then once that's out, like I can take on writing that email if somebody can then like evangelize it on the 2 SIGs and the chairs and tech leads mailing list. Yeah, end of August sounds fine to me.
Okay, so Christoph's going to draft the email. Who's going to champion this out? And there's a PR ready to go. Working group PR.
Yeah, I'll send it and track. So regarding tracking whether leads have done it, I was just thinking we'll go with an umbrella issue with the, I don't know what it's called, the to-do list thingy, where you can check, crosswalk if leads have done it, and leads can comment if they've done it, and we just tick it off. So it's kind of, I don't want to say publicly shaming, but I guess publicly giving credit if they've done it, and maybe shaming if they haven't. It's just using an umbrella issue for tracking. Does that sound okay?
Okay, wrapping up because we're at time. One thing I would like to just comment is we should go and take a look at the project board. I am going to take a look at everything that we said we're going to do in the next couple of weeks and make sure it's actually in progress and assigned correctly, because I just quickly skimmed the project board and it's not accurately representing what we say we're going to do. So if you get to that before me, great. Otherwise, is there anything else before we wrap up?
This bosoning was pretty awesome. I said that the last time, but you stopped the recording, so I wanted to get this on record.
I need to nominate the boson for the next one. Who said they were taking July? Because I think Paris said she'll take August. You're going to take it, Nikita? Okay, yeah. I will make sure that's wrapped up. Thank you very much, Nikita, and thank you for keeping this tight agenda and all your items today. Thank you all. This concludes our July 6th public steering meeting, and we will see you all at the public steering meeting in August. Wonderful. Have a great day.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.